Alright guys, we just got back from the Sony press conference. We've seen all the major ones today, and by that I mean Microsoft and Sony.
That is about the only two worthwhile ones.
Yeah. So of course we got the entire crew here, Tom, Derek, and Ash. We're going to give our overall impressions of the day, what we thought was cool, what wasn't. Yeah, it's going to be pretty freeform, pretty half-assed, like our discussions in general.
It's hard to do anything with any major polish whenever we're here.
Okay, so since we just came from Sony, let's go over that real quick. What do you guys? What did you think about the Sony's conference this year?
Sony just sort of did amazing. I mean, they started out by finally showing Last Guardian like we thought they would,
and like I predicted,
you predicted
before we knew about the rumors even.
Yeah. We've got, of course, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is huge. We also predicted, thanks to rumors and such, that turned out to be true. And the biggest one, potentially, really, is Shenmue 3 having a Kickstarter. And as of right now, it's already at almost $1.3 million. So Bloodstain's record is probably going to be broken very soon.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for Igarashi just because his reign has been so short-lived, but I don't think it's... I think Shenmue 3 is going to bust it wide open. I have a feeling.
They broke Kickstarter. Yes.
yeah, that too.
There's probably hurting a lot of other projects, like Ukulele's ending in
18 hours.
18 hours. So, so, I mean, it's back up now and just fine, but that probably doesn't help at all, especially because all the attention right now is on Shenmue.
Yeah, I think the ukulele was not going to make its £2 million mark. Currently, it's looking like so.
It might get a final push. I'm not sure.
I think I'll make it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Sony's conference, they had some big things. I mean, they had the two rumored things, of course, being Last Guardian and Final Fantasy VII Remake, both of which coming true is awesome, and I think pleased a ton of people. But they had the complete blindside of course, we're talking Shenmue 3. Like, who saw that coming, right?
Nope.
Like,
literally no one.
Yeah.
The only indication we got was Yu Suzuki tweeting out that forklift picture. And
that's true, we did have that slight tease.
Exactly.
Right.
We saw there was that, but who really thought anything was going to come of that? You know, really?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't.
Could have just been a forklift racing game in the world of Shenmue for all our luck.
Well, that's a mobile version.
Mobile phone forklift racing.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree Sony's showing is quite good. A fair amount of surprises and living up to a lot of the hype. I guess real quick, what do you guys think of the remake? We didn't see any gameplay, of course. So
the crazy thing for me about the remake is I wasn't even sure it was a remake when they first started showing it. I think that's why the room didn't explode right away. There was an explosion, but it didn't happen right away because they kept doing this new voiceover, and they showed these scenes that were showing Midgar, but not really anything that people were familiar with. This was all new, and I really thought they were like, oh, they're actually going to pick up after Advent Children, but no, this is a remake, and there you go. And I think as soon as people realized that, then the hype hit, and everybody got super excited, and it was quite loud.
It's definitely crescendo.
Yeah, I think it took a little while to get there. I'm not sure they necessarily presented in quite the right way. It was a little vague at first, what it actually was. It looked like it could have been anywhere in the Final Fantasy VII timeline. But once people realized it was a remake, like you said, Derek, people got really excited. But I do wish they could have at least shown even alpha footage of battles or the world map or something. Anything that shows the game part of this remake, because then I guarantee you, this is the remake that people have been wanting more than anything for the past how many years now,
decade.
Decade or more.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is finally happening, and I think if people had seen the game part of it, even alpha footage, it would have landed with a giant wave. People would have gone crazy.
I agree with that. I mean, it was interesting seeing the reaction to these different announcements. Last Guardian was huge there at being in person. And then, Final Fantasy VII had a fair amount. It had a fair reaction, but compared to Last Guardian and Shenmue 3, it seemed a little bit tepid, I think, for the reasons you guys mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, what was it, a hand? Might as well have the hand in wheat or whatever, but there's a feather or something. A bunch of random scenes at first. And then the voice, nobody knows who the voice is.
Yeah.
I couldn't place that character. I'm not sure who it was, but...
Well, and it wasn't made clear that what we were seeing was, in-game footage. I'm sure it was, and it's going to look amazing, but it wasn't... The remake part of this remake wasn't really communicated that well, I don't think.
I think that's pre-rendered cutscene is my guess.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, is that like the remake part of this being a remake wasn't necessarily communicated as well as I think it should have been. Yeah. But I think also Square being Square, I think the realization now has set in that we're probably going to see this remake come out in 2035 or 2030. It's going to be a long time before
we'll be dead. Our children will be playing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not actually expecting this to arrive until 2017 at the earliest.
Yeah.
For one of those PlayStation 9 commercials with that floating orb.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the gravitas of the fact that, and now thanks to a 2-hour conference, we are now living in a world where a Final Fantasy VII remake is real, a world where Shenmue 3 is real, and a world where The Last Guardian is alive and well and coming out next year. Like, these are all video game urban legends until now.
And we haven't even touched upon Uncharted 4 showing yet. I mean, overall, Sony did have a very strong showing.
And it helped so much, once again, that they showed gameplay. These weren't canned trailers. They weren't cutscenes. Yeah. Most of the stuff that Sony showed was in-game footage. I think the only exceptions was Hitman and the Assassin's Creed. And, technically Final Fantasy VII as well. But most of it was gameplay. I mean, hell, we know for a fact there was a live demo with Uncharted 4 because of the whole controller mess up.
That's right, yeah. Well, another demo we got, it wasn't live, but actual gameplay was, what was that game?
Horizon,
yeah.
Yeah, Horizon.
Dawn Zero by Guerrilla Games.
Yeah, and that was a complete surprise as well, and that looks very compelling based on what we've seen.
That was my secret game of the conference, and it might even be. I mean, obviously it's not going to be at E3 in a playable form,
right?
But in terms of promising first looks, that might clinch it for me. I mean, that I can't even explain to you guys how thoroughly that trailer, that gameplay footage impressed me.
I think it's because of the transition, because we were okay, we're getting backgrounds and this is the world, we're getting another typical trailer. I mean, it looked gorgeous. I love apocalypses where it takes place in something green, colorful, interesting looking. And, it had a lot of bait and switches where it started out we're going to have a caveman game. No, it takes place in an apocalyptic future. Okay, there's robot dinosaurs wandering around. And then the gameplay started and you're like, what? It just looked gorgeous. And that fight with the robotic dinosaur, was really incredible just because of how it broke off.
Hey, you chipped away at it.
Yeah. It really felt like you were wearing it down quite literally by just pulling it apart.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and I was telling you, Derek, it reminded me a lot of Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, in all the best ways. That's a game I hold near and dear to my heart. Not enough people played it, but this looks like it's almost like in style and in substance, it looks like it's a spiritual successor, I guess I would say. Like, it's not, of course, but it just reminds me so much of that vibe, and I love it.
Yeah.
Well, definitely kudos to Guerrilla Games for not making Killzone Forever or 99 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, that's a general theme I think I noticed at Sony shows, that they didn't rely too heavily on their established franchises. Like, we didn't see God of War 4. I mean, obviously we saw Uncharted, but I mean, compared to Microsoft this morning, I mean, I would say they had an over-reliance on their tentpole franchises, and the same would probably be said about Nintendo as well. Definitely be said about Nintendo. But Sony really, they're really emphasizing new, original stuff, and I really appreciate that. Like, they did not over-rely on their tentpole franchises.
Dreams looks weird.
That's very true. Yeah.
I mean, I love Media Molecule. They come up with some really great stuff. I'm not sure I have a grasp on Dreams yet. Even they said themselves, it's going to take a little bit for you guys to really understand what's going on here. But again, it's another creative type game, and I suck at those. And there was nothing, unfortunately, and other than just sort of looking around, there's nothing compelling there for me to actually pick up.
We don't know enough about it. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, what they showed looked interesting, but it was also extremely vague, and I don't know if it's going to appeal to me based on what they showed. But it could be fun to hop into other people's dreams, maybe. I don't know.
Well, they did mention you can make sort of scenes, you can make kind of like a music sort of thing, or you can make video games. So I'm guessing it'd be an advanced version of Little Big Planet, but they're just not marketing it that way at first to try to keep it open to interpretation, I guess. But
yeah, it's like this weird cross between like Little Big Planet, Mario Paint, and like MDMA. Like it's just like a drug trade, like an acid trip. It's just like it's a weird mishmash. I don't think really anyone knew what to make of it, but I like that it's just so unique. Like Sony's kind of becoming known for being like this AAA art house studio, like I was saying to you, Andre, where they do the stuff they're expected to do in the big franchises, but they're not afraid to take risks on these really artsy, alternative, weird experiences, and I like that. Yeah,
I mean, I'll give them credit for that. They do have a lot of original properties, a lot of original games, which is something like that we didn't see necessarily a ton of in years past. From other companies. So there was just one weird thing. Getting back to Shenmue 3, I thought that whole thing was just a little bit weird. I mean, it was awesome, but weird. Because it was like an ad for Kickstarter, which isn't even something that Sony's directly involved with, as far as I can tell. I mean, besides the exclusivity on consoles. But.
The only thing I can really think of in terms of that is Sony saw it, but he wanted firm control, and they were like, "We love this, and thank you for bringing it to PS4. We're going to push this since it is on PS4."
But you would still think, like, if they had that level of confidence, they would have the confidence to give him control anyway.
That's a weird one. I think it'll probably come out. I'm sure that's going to be a lot of the big questions coming towards Suzuki about this whole thing.
Because, I mean, it's clear, even if it blows past this $2 million Kickstarter goal, which it will.
Oh, yeah. Tonight.
The original Shenmue had a massive budget, and this was like, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, in order to do a game of that scale, which maybe they aren't going for that scale. I forget what he said that during the conference. They're going to need more than $2 million, or even many times that.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say during the conference, I think the thing that came across is that people keep bugging me about this. I'm going to finally make it, but it's up to you if I do or not. And then stop bugging me.
Leave me alone.
I can die. Probably.
So when do we get the Mega Man Legends 3 Kickstarter? That's what I want to know. But no, I think Kickstarters in general. I mean, I think there's something of a misconception about them. I mean, Kickstarters to a degree are a dog and pony show. They're like I'm almost certain that Suzuki already has a lot more money in hand than he needs to fund this game, and that's usually the case with Kickstarters. What they ask for is never enough for an actual game to be developed.
What's interesting though is on the Kickstarter page is that if we do not hit $2 million, this will not happen.
Yeah,
they said that downright. So I almost feel like it's almost like an investment, like showing.
Or a threat.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Yeah. Is this coming? Like, here you go. Yeah. You guys have been asking for it. Let's see if it actually happens. But if it doesn't, I can't fund this because I can't convince some publisher to help foot the bill for the rest of the
it may well be Sony is willing to help foot the bill, but they need a show of confidence. Like, people really want it.
Yeah.
And I don't think Sega is going to help because I don't think Sega can right now. I don't think they have enough money to help right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, who knows how that relationship's working out?
Yeah,
I guess there's no mention of Sega. I didn't know Sega gave up the thing. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Didn't see that logo anywhere.
Nope.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds like we all agree Sony's conference was pretty, if not, very strong. What do you guys think about Microsoft's, which we saw earlier this morning?
It was fine with one crushing disappointment for all of us, I think.
That was it. So, like, when they announced I think I speak for all of us, basically, mostly. When they announced the Rare Collection, like, I love the whole trailer, the build-up to it. I thought they did a great job. Like, 30 Rare games in one? Awesome, great. I'm totally on board. Now let's bring on the new Rare game. And we've had so many teases of it being like Battletoads or Banjo or something. Something that will harken back to a classic Rare IP. And we got something that to me looked like a very stylized version of Assassin's Creed 4.
Yeah, I was 100% certain that a new Banjo or Battletoads would be revealed today. And I just don't know. I know that they know the demand is there. I know they know that. And I know they know that no one really wants this, the pirate, what's it called?
Sea of Thieves. I've seen some people interested in it.
You've seen?
Yes.
But that's just...
I can punch you now,
It's just so strange, because I know that it's in some hidden dark room at Rare headquarters somewhere. There is a version of a new Banjo game being made. I know that.
There has to be.
Right. But it's been years.
Maybe they're just like prints and they put it in a vault and they don't release it to the world.
Yeah, there's
At the very least, this isn't a Kinect game. This is something original. There's something doing something different. There was charm to that trailer, but because that's not what we expected,
It gets back to the whole codename Steam issue, where you go in with these certain set of expectations.
Yeah.
Had we known they were going to announce a new IP, I think it would have been it would have been less of an issue.
Exactly.
With that said, I'm not totally against a new game. Like, it could be fun, could be really cool. It was hard to get a feel for it from the trailer.
Yeah,
but
it's an underwhelming trailer for what it could potentially be. Really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at one point you thought it was Saberwolf.
I actually, at the very start, I'm like, okay, it's not Banjo, it's not Battletoads, it could be Saberwolf. And
I was going through rare IPs in my head, like, no, it's not this one. No, it's not this one.
Yeah.
And then it was the new one, of course. Now, speaking of that collection, 30 games for $30. That's a hell of a good deal. I mean,
they have some obscure ones on there
exactly.
too.
They got the Battletoads arcade game, from what I understand, that is incredibly rare.
Right.
Anyway,
I'm looking at the waveforms on our monitor.
We just killed the mic, so there you go. I love collections like this. One of my favorite collections is the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, where you just shove all kinds of these classic games on there for a good price. And with the rise of virtual consoles and eShop, in PSN,
you don't
all
see
that,
compilations
it's all single releases, so
you
don't get those compilations. So to have something like that, please give us more like this. I love these compilations because they're such a great deal. And if somebody was interested in one game, they might be interested in one of the other games that they pick up, because I love that RC Pro-Am's in that collection. There was no response about RC Pro-Am.
No, I cheered too.
Yeah, okay.
The only cheers. If you heard any cheers during that segment, it was Tom and Derek. So.
And there was some great stuff in there. I mean, I saw one comment on NeoGAF saying, "Man, I get to buy Blast Core again for $30, and I get 29 other games with it for free."
You get Jet Force Gemini with that?
Jet Force Gemini,
all the banjos. Yeah,
Perfect Dark Zero.
Perfect Dark Zero.
So the question I was wondering is, I think is it going to be Conquer or Conquer? Like, is it going to be the original games or the remakes? Right? Like, Conquer is Bad Fur Day or Live and Reloaded. I'm hoping it's a 64 one.
But in Banjo's case,
we want the XBLA one, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And they may have already even talked about this since we haven't fully caught on all the news here.
Yeah, exactly. We're kind of just all over the place, so we're kind of just going on what we know right now.
Now, another big announcement was we saw more of Halo 5, and we got to see a new multiplayer mode being Warzone, which looked to be like an elaboration of what they'd done before with I forget what they called it in Halo, but it was like their version of Gears of War's Horde mode.
Okay. Yeah, this is a really clever idea, a nice expansion on it, to have both player versus player, but player versus enemies at the exact same time. So really, it is just a chaos going on with everybody going after each other, and just, I don't know. I think that's a really good idea. Now, my biggest disappointment with Halo 5, and I've played all the other Halo games with a friend, split screen. There was no split screen, and that drives me nuts because I can't play it with them now. So, but the new multiplayer mode does look like a lot of fun.
Well, what if you could pay for Xbox Live Gold and have split screen? Would you do that?
Probably not. I don't have an Xbox. He has the Xbox, so yeah.
I mean, I think this is a year that Microsoft mostly just kind of stayed the course that's expected of them and played it safe. I mean, and there's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, if you don't take any risks necessarily, you're not going to get the big like, oh my god, megaton announcements. But they didn't really do anything wrong necessarily either. And it could be said, I overheard one guy arguing in Microsoft's favor in terms of the conferences that almost all this awesome stuff that Sony showed us isn't coming till next year, whereas the majority of the or later, whereas a lot of the stuff that Microsoft showed, to their credit, is coming this year. So there is that angle. I mean, I think Microsoft stuff was mostly safe and not as
But here's the strange part: Microsoft had almost no live demos.
Yeah,
that's true.
And Sony's are coming later, yet they have live demos of this stuff. So
I swear to God, although the one they have one live demo at least, or a couple. They had a couple live demos, but the one that stood out to me was the Gears of War one. But I swear to God, if I have to sit through one more demo where you go through this really slow walking section, shining flashlights, and looking around and
stopping at a doorway so you can see the leaves rustle.
And that is like such empty. It's like it's vapid gameplay there. I don't want to see that. I want to see
exactly. It's not how I like to look around and see stuff, but you're not stopping like that. You're not taking in the breath. Like, the only time that worked was Last Guardian, because I could say myself, like, ooh, I want to see all this. There's the animal. Let's find where he's at. That sort of stuff.
That was more suspenseful, really, like with the dragon coming, like, oh, will he make it? Will he won't?
Yeah.
The slow creaking on his structure, but Gears of War, no, he's just walking on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, when that's like, I'll admit that, like, when I played The Last of Us, I'll do that, like, where I'll take in the scenery and I'll look around and take my time, and that's fine. But when you have that being done to you in a demo, it almost feels like the game is hosting its own circle jerk. Like, it's just like it's kind of just trite to me. It's like, okay, you're obviously you want me to be impressed by the graphics. You're clearly stating that, oh, you are supposed to be impressed right now, and that bothers me. That is the worst way to get me to be impressed, because I know that you're specifically trying to elicit that reaction.
Right.
And you're not just letting it happen naturally.
Well, I'm going to say I'm a bit worried about the new Gears of War.
Yeah.
Because it honestly, it didn't look as good to me as it does on the Xbox 360.
Secondly, it's not called Gears of 4.
Yeah,
like
Gears
you
of 4,
suggested.
like I thought.
Yeah.
4-man co-op, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Gears of 4.
Gears of War.
I'd like, where's the beefy guy?
Yeah.
The beefy locust? Could this be like Donkey Kong, where they got rid of the Kremlins? Like, I'm kind of worried. It's by a studio in Vancouver that's new to the franchise. Like, I don't know. I just
The
wait and
big
see.
monster was this tiny dog-like thing with a Cthulhu mouth.
Yeah.
It's not threatening. I mean, they took him out with one shotgun shot. You
Yeah.
know, another example of like, okay, I know this monster's going to attack me here, so let's get this shotgun ready and kill it now. I mean,
Yeah.
you have some of those elements too, but it wasn't quite as natural as like the Uncharted one. Well, yeah, he drove great, but he still was crashing into just about everything. But that was also probably just to show off the physics engine and that kind of
breaking
thing.
stuff.
Yeah.
I did like seeing, actually, to get away from that real quick, back to Last Guardian, I did like how the demo wasn't, like, 100% polished. Like, you can see, like, a few, like, little flaws in there.
Yeah, you could.
And I actually kind of appreciated that. Like, that it felt a little bit more real, like an actual game. Like, that's how the game would appear if you were playing it yourself, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in an age now, and I love modern games, and I'm not saying it's old school's best or whatever, but we live in an age now where games are so tightly controlled and regulated in the way they're shown to the public before they're actually released. It's tiring. It's like, just let me see your game. It's
Right. Yeah.
we understand if there are some technical hiccups. Okay, it doesn't have to be. I don't want a perfectly guided fake experience. I want to know what your game actually does.
Right.
And we're just in this age of tightly controlled PR, and I get so sick of that. It's so fake.
Somebody gets hit by the Goomba, it's all right, you know.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's happened to the best of us.
I mean, sorry. I'm just
No,
saying
go ahead.
That happened with Uncharted 4, and I actually like that. Like, they flubbed the demo. You know,
Like,
they
you saw
couldn't
the
get it
guy
to
go on
work,
stage,
and-
it's like, is this really a thing? But here's the thing, they didn't show anybody playing those other games where it was
Right.
demo, so it was definitely canned. They didn't try to fake it.
They didn't.
And
Well,
then they had that guy come up, and then the problems happened.
But yes, no one booed. No one cared.
No one
They were
cared, yeah.
clapping, and they're having a good time. People understand these things happen.
Exactly, I'm totally with you. And then one of the more, get back to Microsoft now.
Yeah.
One of the more surprising things I think for a lot of people was the announcement of like full backwards compatibility coming later this year for every 360 game.
As long as the company approves of it. The more I
Right.
looked into it, looks like it's a situation sort of like the 360's backwards compatibility with the original Xbox.
Right.
Where it's
Is it really that tight?
That seems like it because the developer actually has to approve it.
Well,
It can
that's
do
not
it.
that's not nearly as bad as 360. 360 had to
True.
go through literally game by game.
True.
And it took them years to get through even a portion of their catalog.
Yeah. So it's really up to these companies, and some of them might hold awful, and some of them, if they're doing
Activision.
if they're trying to do a remake,
Yeah.
like these HD remakes they're doing, it's hard to say what they're going to do there. I mean, it's a great idea. It's great that they have it. Like I'd say that was Microsoft's big, like, coup over Sony. Like, that's the one thing they did really well over Sony.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm like on two halves of this. Like, I heard the news, I'm like, that's awesome, great. Then by the same token, I'm like, I wouldn't use it.
Yeah, it should have happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, like, I'm over it. Like, if I had an Xbox, I have a 360, I could play them on that. It's more convenient, absolutely, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, I think a lot of people have also moved on.
Well,
and
yeah. I mean, I love backwards compatibility. I think it's enormously convenient. I don't have a whole lot of room to store all these systems, so it's a great convenience. But looking at the big picture, I'm a little concerned that Microsoft's biggest coup over Sony this year was looking to the
backwards,
past.
Yeah.
With
It
the
wasn't
compilation,
some-
playing retro games.
Yeah, although to their credit, I do want to highlight Record. That's kind of like the surprising new IP
That's
from
true.
Concept that Keiji Inafune's making.
And from the makers of Metroid Prime.
And from Armature,
Armature guys who broke off after Metroid Prime 1.
Yeah,
so,
and I have to say, I mean, it certainly was nowhere near as impressive as what's the Sony
Horizon.
Yeah. It was nowhere near as impressive as that, but on its own, I actually really like the art style. I kind of dug the whole vibe of it. I mean, Recore looks pretty cool.
Side note, real quick, is it? So it's not just me that can't keep all these names straight.
It's so hard.
It feels like all these names you can just like mix and match them in the matter at all, right?
I was going to say Beyond, but that's the Ellen Page game.
Yeah. They have Destiny. They're all the same.
Yeah. Let's actually mention the indies real quick for Microsoft, because I think there was a lot of good ones. Cuphead. Why is Cuphead only for Microsoft? I want that on a Sony console so I can actually play it.
You can get it on Windows 10.
I guess so.
Cuphead looks so cool.
Art style is so good.
Yeah.
I want it so bad. And that Beyond Eyes, that where you play the blind
Beyond
girl.
Sight, I think it
Beyond
was.
Sight.
Or maybe
I think it was Beyond Eyes.
Yeah, you're right.
That was... I really like that art style. It was sort of like the Unfinished Swan, except you really have to pay attention. It doesn't automatically happen. You're waiting for all these like little cues to actually pop up and show where you are.
And I just like the concept of it. You don't often get games where a handicapped person is the protagonist, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, you'll have like blind warriors, but you can see everything, so it doesn't really matter.
You don't often have games where the protagonist's handicap actually affects gameplay, and you're encouraged to work with that. And I think that's a really cool approach.
Mm-hmm. Definitely interesting. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts at all about anything that happened today, or maybe your expectations for Nintendo tomorrow?
Man.
Real quick, Rise of Tomb Raider still sucks that it has that timed exclusivity, but it is looking pretty good. It's looking to me like the difference between Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2. It's basically the same gameplay, except they're making the situations a lot more interesting.
So yeah, I would. Well, I never played Tomb Raider, but I saw a lot of it, and that's totally the case. The difference for me, like I'm at the point like I was with the Gears of War demo. I've seen so many of these demos now where you go through these incredibly scripted sequences, basically, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like
and we've seen mountain climbing sequences before.
Yeah.
The only thing really interesting about that was the stored clouds going over it. You don't see that too often.
Well, it's basically like a QTE in Shenmue, right? That's not the actual gameplay. There's no way they can afford to make an entire game like that, basically.
Yeah. I thought it looked good. I've been made no secret of the fact that I do enjoy linear games, so I am looking forward to that. But I agree with you, Andre, about showing us scripted sequences like that at a show like this. I would rather see more freeform gameplay in terms of demos. I don't mind when I'm on my own playing it by myself. No. Linearity scripted is great, but it doesn't work as well.
It is kind of interesting.
Like that.
It is kind of interesting to compare that to the Uncharted demo, which, granted, also has many of those same elements as Derek mentioned.
But they hide it so well.
And exactly. In this demo's case, there was a lot of freeform gameplay. Within the scripted setting they used, or not. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was still a demo, of course. But
another quick question: Do any of us care about the HoloLens and Project Morpheus? Both of those are could be interesting, but I haven't seen anything that convinces me otherwise. I like that whole Minecraft demo with the HoloLens. Really cool. I really can't see many other games using it to that effect. Maybe like Civilization or an RTS, stuff like that, but it's...
I mean, HoloLens was impressive from a technology standpoint. They're both destined at this point to be niche products gaming-wise, I think.
I haven't seen anything that really sells them.
I'm not convinced that VR is going to change the gaming market completely, like some people seem to be.
Some people really are convinced.
I think it'll be a cool thing, and I think there's room for it. But the thing about the HoloLens, it was some real next level stuff. It was super cool. But then I thought, so was Kinect when they showed it, and then look what that became. So I'm a little, I got burned with Kinect, and we all did.
Yeah, we did. And the HoloLens did look really impressive there. I mean, granted, it's under optimal conditions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you really want to be walking around your home table, manipulating? I mean, usually when I play a game, I mean, it's gonna make me sound lazy, of course. But I'm in that relaxation mode, right? I want to just sit back and take in a game. I don't know if I'm gonna be walking around I've even done that to a limited degree on the 3DS. Granted, it's way worse on that. Terrible even. But that small experience, really, it's I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to be moving around. And
here's a solution for the HoloLens: lie down in bed, just look at the ceiling, and play Minecraft.
There you go.
Brilliant.
That is a good idea.
One thing I do want to know more about is World of Final Fantasy. I was highly intrigued by that. We've got these seemingly two original characters in this original story, but then you've got suddenly super chibi-fied versions of Cloud and other Final Fantasy mainstay characters, and I'm Warrior of Light. I had no they didn't give any indication as to what kind of game that is, but I'm intrigued just on principle alone.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, what the hell is this? But no, it's always nice to see Square not take itself seriously and have some fun with their franchise.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I am very curious to see what Square Enix is going to show tomorrow. I think it could be an interesting, could be a letdown, could be a pretty decent conference tomorrow for that.
Well, and speaking of tomorrow, any last minute Nintendo predictions or just your general excitement level for what they have coming up?
I've seen a lot of people declare Sony winner just because of those three big.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be hard for Nintendo too.
That's kind of the trifecta right there, right? It's hard to top.
But then maybe they don't need to, right? I mean, they do kind of do their own thing.
They do.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they don't need to.
So what would Nintendo's trifecta be? Like, what could they roll out to top this? Like,
a good Star Fox.
A really impressive demo of Star Fox. Maybe Return of F-Zero.
Oh,
yeah, that would.
That's like icing on the cake.
Metroid.
New Metroid, you think?
Because here's the thing, Shenmue is big, but how big is it? It hits that cult following, and that's the same thing with F-Zero to me.
Right.
But see, but I hate to.
Metroid is that long. Metroid is sort of like Last Guardian, where it's been in incognito for a while, and then
But I hate to say, but I almost want to say that at this point, Metroid and F-Zero have been lying dormant for so long. They're almost niche franchises now. They're not quite. Not of course not to the extent that Shenmue is, but I mean these aren't like These aren't Zelda, Pokemon, Mario franchises. They are now B-tier Nintendo franchises, and they're not necessarily crowd pleasers in that sense. I know that sounds crazy coming from a Nintendo fan, and I can't wait for those games. But to the general public, I mean, I don't think Star Fox is going to be like this crazy million seller. I think Star Fox is going to sell to Star Fox fans, and that's about it.
Well, we still haven't seen anything from Platinum because Platinum's been teasing something about E3. We haven't seen it from anybody else yet, so...
I thought we know that they're working on Transformers.
Oh, did something come out? I didn't see anything about Transformers.
I think they're working on the new Transformers game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what came out, and I'm a little disappointed that that's what it is.
Yeah. It could be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that takes care of that.
And it's not even coming to Wii U.
Yeah. Well, we got Retro yet. Retro has something, so... That probably leans towards something Metroid. Who knows exactly what it will be, whether it be 3DS or Wii U, but we'll see.
I'm going to say that the three things they could do to like match that, you would have to have Super Mario Galaxy 3 as one of them. That's your big crowd pleaser that would just have all the hype. People would go nuts for that.
Or any 3D Mario, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like in the vein of 3D Land or 3D World.
I think if it was 3D World 2, it wouldn't be as hype.
That's what I'm saying. It's not in those veins.
Oh, not in
so
those.
It's like a Mario 64 style
a
or
traditional
Galaxy
3D Mario.
Yeah, so I think it would have to be that. I think it would have to be like F-Zero for like the the niche fans.
I agree with that.
And then for something totally unrelated, like out of nowhere, Mother 3. I think those three things would be the thing that could do. Yeah, they could kind of stand toe to toe. And even then, I'm not sure if it would necessarily be equal. Right. But it would still be. It would get people talking so much that it might as well be.
I think I agree with that. I feel like Metroid's at the point where unless the thing they showed was amazing, I don't think anything they would do for that series would garner the amount of discussion that some of those other games would.
Yeah. So. I mean, now less. But if they announced like a from the ground up remake of Super Metroid, that would
turn some heads, right?
That would turn some heads. So it's not impossible. If they announce the right thing, sure. But...
It always comes back to New Super Metroid.
Yeah.
They could start it off by some random like crumbly rocks and stuff, and somebody speaking that you have no idea who they are.
and then
you see that blaster hanging on the left side of the screen, and then it goes to like Zeebs or something. I was like, ooh, at that point, I'd be confused.
Or hey, I mean, not even just Super Metroid. I mean, I know people are sick of HD collections, but a Metroid Prime trilogy, or from the ground up remakes of all three games, all new textures, high definition, 60 frames.
They just released the trilogy on the Wii.
I agree. That's why, but I still think people would be pretty excited about that. Maybe, but not on the same level. I agree.
Want something new from them?
I do too. Yeah. I absolutely do as well. But I do still think Metroid's going to happen tomorrow. I still am predicting that.
Yeah.
In some sense, I think 3DS.
If they could have a Metroid that was impactful as Metroid Prime 1 was, I think maybe some more open environments, like something like Horizon, where huge landscapes with lots of huge bosses or critters, air quotes, hanging around that you can tackle, something like that.
I don't know if they'll go for that because a big theme of Metroid has always been claustrophobia and very tight spaces.
Because when they have tried to branch away from that, such as with Metroid Prime 3, for many people, at least for me, I didn't think it quite lived up to the
it was a different vibe.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Metroid's been on like a downhill slide with each installment since Metroid Prime. And yeah, I don't know like if they can fully recover from that ever.
Metroid Other M HD.
I think they take enough time off that I think they can come back to it.
I don't know, to me, like Other M still doesn't seem like that long ago, though.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
Yeah,
It's
right.
weird.
So I don't know. Hopefully people forgot about it. But
You know, I wish that guy Sakurai would stop being so lazy and actually give us some new Smash characters. Because I mean, like, we haven't had any new Smash content yet, and it's just like he doesn't do anything.
In 2 days.
So.
It's been 2 days. Where
Yeah,
is it
right.
at?
Yeah, exactly.
what a jerk, man.
I know, right?
Where's my Mother Brain character?
Yeah, play him. Yeah.
All right, so you guys pretty hyped for tomorrow then to see?
Oh,
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully it's gonna be crazy. Hopefully not. Actually, that makes a
Yeah.
ton of work
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
But there are going to be some surprises. There
Yeah.
always are with Nintendo. Yeah, there's going to be some good stuff. We know there is. It's just a matter of Sony just knocking it out of the park so much this year.
They did. They set a high
They
bar
really-
for Nintendo the past
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think that about wraps up for us here, guys. So thanks for watching. If you liked the discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for tons of E3 coverage, or actually mostly our YouTube channel. Even we're probably updating the site much. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel, GameXplain. And thanks for watching. Bye.